Welcome to All the Gear But No Idea, the South Australian fishing podcast hosted by Rhodey and Diz. The boys will share their tall tales of the one that got away, as well as some regular segments they know all you fishing tragics will enjoy.
G'day and welcome to the fourth episode of All the Gear But No Idea, the South Australian fishing podcast. We're here from isolation. COVID-19 has really taken a hold. Diz, have you got me?
Yes, I've got you there, Rhodey. It's an absolute treat. I tell you what, when we started this podcast, I thought there's no way we'd have the technical ability to get this off the ground. You got your stubby cooler there, mate? I'm tucking in, you?
Yeah, mate. I've got my froth ready to go. Nice and cool.
You beauty. Hook in.
All right, so what we have for you today is a real treat. We have the skipper of the Port Adelaide Football Club, fishing enthusiast and big listener of the show, Tom Jonas, fresh out of isolation. He's going to join us and spin a yarn, so that'll be good.
Tommy has been following us on Facebook and Instagram. A few comments here and there, and we just thought, why not ask the great man whether he wants to come on the show. And he's been kind enough to join us tonight. That'll be an absolute treat for us later, Rhodey.
Yep, so talking about the Facebook and the Insta, follow Tommy Jonas's lead and get interactive with us. We want to hear from you.
Absolutely. We've had a bit of interaction of late. I think the stubby holders got us going. That's for sure. That was an absolute treat. Tell us about the stubby holders, Rhodey.
So yes, our first piece of merchandise is now available. Stubby holders from Ange at Creative Concepts. He put them together for us, and they are very, very popular. Plenty of people are snapping them up. So $10 each, or 3 for $25. We have been posting to all corners of the country.
Yes, we have. We've a few mates in New South Wales, down at Port Hughes on the peninsula.
Gold Coast,
Sammy Day, great man.
Skiri down at Beachport.
Yes, absolutely. Love your work, guys. Unbelievably, though, the Sando family, they've done it. Our greatest purchase yet. 12? 12.
They want 12 stubby holders.
They must be made of money down there.
So the land's going well in the Clare Valley by all reports.
Must be. All right, well, that's fantastic, guys. We're going to get into our regular segment today, oranges and lemons. Rhodey, what's been the orange for the week, mate?
Well, without doubt, the stubby holders.
Oh,
we
absolutely.
got them. They look great. They're very functional. This beer is icy cold, and certainly the fans are getting around them. Plenty of purchases, so if you are keen, jump online and get in contact on the socials.
They're good stubbies, aren't they? They're not your cheapo ones that are a little bit of glue on the bottom and they fall out within 5 minutes. Ange has really set us up here. They're the duck's nuts stubby holders, aren't they?
Yeah, they certainly are, mate. What's your orange?
Well, what a great week South Australia's had on the COVID-19 front. We're looking better and better to be fishing by Easter break this if we keep going this way. No, I'm joking. We'll talk about the Easter break a bit later. Make sure you stay in isolation. But COVID cases dropping has been a good news story from this week, that's for sure. And your lemon, Rhodey?
Certainly that we can't get away over Easter.
Oh, yeah.
It's always the best time of the year to get away. 4 days off work. You can make a real trip of it. So that'll be disappointing. But rules are rules and we got to do our bit. So, make sure you do stay at home and we'll get fishing sooner or later.
Yeah, that's the way I'm looking at it, mate. The more we do this social distancing and isolation bit, the quicker we'll be out in the water.
What's your lemon, mate?
Well, it's just been a long, hard slog at work over the last month, really. Not a lot to do on the weekends, nothing much to look forward to. No beers with the mates at the pub. Horrible weather last weekend too, wasn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely no chance of getting out fishing on our boat. You would have needed a very good sized boat to get out in the water last weekend. It was awful.
Now, onto the coronavirus. Obviously, we are still allowed to go fishing, but they do not want you travelling. So stick your 1.5 metres away from each other if you're on a jetty or on a beach, or your 4 square metres per person on the boat. But we will touch on that later on. They don't want you travelling to the regional areas. Our mate Fraser Ellis, the MP from the York Peninsula, has been very hot on that, and he made sure we put in a little warning to you all. He doesn't want you all heading over and visiting the peninsula.
Yes, that's right. It is important. We've got to do the right thing this break and make sure we stick to our areas. That doesn't mean you can't fish locally if you want to get out and about. If you're down at West Lakes and you live in that region, get amongst it. If you're down in the great southern region like Christie's Beach, get around it. Fish in the Onkaparinga River there. You never know your luck on the mullies.
So
tell us what to do in isolation, Rhodey.
Well, I'm always don't mind sitting down, putting the replay of the footy on and tying a few rigs.
Oh, one of the most organised tackle boxes I've ever seen.
Yep, so I did buy another 4-pack of tackle trays, so I'll reorganise all my gear over the weekend, so that'll be good.
Of course you did.
And I was having a chat to your fiancée now, actually, and she said she's been seeing you out in the backyard with the fly fishing rod practising your cast. So you've certainly found a way of keeping busy.
You got to, mate. You got to get in. You got to put the hours in now. It'll reap the rewards later. You tie a little sinker on the end of the rod, practice your flicking lures, flicking baits. It's good stuff. Now, we've had some social, the socials interaction this week, haven't we? Tell us about Johnny
we have
Giannini.
now.
What
Johnny
an absolute
Giannini.
legend, another great fan of the show. Shout out to you, mate. Thanks for your efforts.
So he's really our listener of the week, isn't he? We've sent him out an extra stubby holder. We've looked after him, sent him a bonus one. He asked us a really good question to get some interaction, get some chat. So Diz, what was the question? Read it out for us.
Yes, he did. He was just asking us how we were going, asking for a few stubbies, but who can blame him? They're the best stubby coolers you'll see. His question related to anglers' almanacs and other resources that provide best fishing times around mood, tide, time of day and that sort of thing. He wondered whether we bought into it. God knows why he asked us for our advice, particularly your advice. But anyway, what was our answer, Rhodey? What do we think about that kind of stuff?
Well, certainly I remember going over to your parents' place over at Black Point for years and years and years, and you and Davo would fight over who'd be the first one of the season to nip down to the Pine Point store and buy the almanac.
We kept them in business there for a few years. We bought so many almanacs.
Mate, everywhere you looked in that shack, there was an almanac on every little piece of furniture. Every nook and cranny was filled with an almanac. They had plenty of them. Yes. So certainly the Gillespies are firm believers in the almanac.
We really bought the almanac for the tide times. It was I am a firm believer in fishing around the tides. So it was always important to know what the tide times were. These days it's a little bit easier, jumping on the app on Willy Weather or something like that and finding the tide times, no problems. But back in the day, the almanac had some good stuff in there, that's for sure.
And what part of the tide do we fish, Diz?
Yeah, we like to fish around the tides, don't we?
Yeah, either side of the change of tide, generally good to have a fish.
Yeah, I think that'd be the advice out there, that's for sure. But thank you, Johnny, for your question. Fantastic, mate. Keep up the great work. We hope you enjoy those stubbies we sent out your way and keep it up.
And talking about the tides, there's always plenty of water movement over Easter with the moon. So it is a good time to get out and have a fish.
That's for sure.
So if you can, get out on the water, guys. The other thing we did say to Johnny, you can't sit around waiting for the perfect tides or the perfect weather. When you've got some time, you go off on holidays, you just got to get out and have a crack.
You do.
Because regardless of if it's a dodge or whatever it is, you're still a chance.
That's for sure. Well, we fished a dodge one day out off Kangaroo Island there, and we got a few, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We certainly did. So it certainly does happen. You can certainly increase your chances by fishing around the tides, but being out in the water is still better than sitting on the couch.
That's for sure. All right, well, let's hook into the fishing report, Rhodey.
Yep. Now, down at West Lakes, the Mulloway are out and about, catching a few on liveys after dark. We've also had a few mates getting a few brim around the pontoons, having a flick after work. That will get a little bit harder now the daylight savings is finished.
It will, yes. Daylight savings, geez, I'm going to miss it. It's a good time of year. The squid, they've been biting around the usual spots, Merino, Seacliff, those kind of areas. You got to look for the clear water, I think, with squid, and dark lures have certainly been doing the damage for us lately. Rhodey, what's your go-to with the squid, mate?
Absolutely cannot go past the Yozuri redhead lure.
Good call.
If you're going to buy one lure, that's it.
Great call. Rhodey, we've seen some photos of salmon, haven't we, on Facebook?
Yeah, Downway Pinga, they seem to have moved in, particularly late in the afternoon, and they're a good fish to target with this social isolation. You sit in your car, look for the schools, head down, plenty of space on the beach. You can walk up and down, find a little quiet spot and burley up and have a good crack.
For sure. Now, I was having a bit of a chin wag with the next door neighbour the other day, sort of a few crab pots out the front of his house. He's isolating himself, and he went over sort of, a week or so ago, outside of the holidays, went down to York's for a day trip, smashed him at Ardrossan. He was telling me about his cooking techniques and all sorts. You know, you got to get the salt water to the boil, throw them in, another 8 minutes. We had a good yarn over a beer, so had a yarn to him over the fence, which was good. What about the offshore species, Rhodey? What's happening on that front?
Seems to be getting a little bit quieter on the pelagic type fishing at the moment. There are a few popping up on the Facebook photos, but the tuna, kingy, Samson seem to be quieting down.
Yeah, that's for sure. Flathead, they fire at this time of year, particularly on the Eyre Peninsula. They love autumn. I remember being over at Sejuna quite a few years ago and got amongst it. The locals told me that this was the time to get around them. And Rhodey, you don't mind having a bit of a crack on them over with your family in Victoria. What's your thoughts on a few tips for the listeners out there on Flathead?
Yeah, we certainly caught plenty in the bay down on the Mornington Peninsula over the years. Hired a little boat and putted out into the Port Phillip Bay. We'd always get 6 or 8 minimum, sometimes 10 or 15. Bloody good eating flathead. I think they're underrated. I reckon they're right up there with the best eating fish.
Absolutely, I'd agree with that. Tell us about that time you tried to fillet me flathead, mate, that I caught. It was an absolute stomper and you turned it into fish fillets.
Mate, it was way too big to fit in the pan. I just thought I'd...
knock it into some fish bites.
Yeah, some little nuggets. They were bloody good too.
They were. I reckon last episode, if you were listening in, we covered off a lot of things on river and where they were biting. And Tom Jonas, what an absolute champion he is, coming on the show today, and he's going to share some hot tips on where to find them as well. Rhodey, let's move on to the fishing news, mate. What's happening around the state?
Yep. Now, the crayfish professionals have had their quota rolled over into the next season. Obviously, the coronavirus wreaked havoc with lots of our rock lobster fishery sent over to China. That's been disrupted since January 24. So that's a big period out of their season. So any unused quota can be carried over to next season for the southern zone or to the next 2 seasons for the northern zone. So the Minister for Primary Industries and Regional Development, Tim Whetstone, I've got a quote. So if the market disruption continues this financial year alone, it is estimated we will lose $23 million from the SA economy.
Amazing, isn't it? They bring a lot of money into South Australia. So
continuing statewide, the rock lobster fishery supports 1,500 full-time equivalent jobs and contributes more than $195 million to the state's economy.
Wow. Amazing.
So it's a big loss, but luckily they're going to roll them over into next year.
Yeah, I think that's a good move. Good move from them. The national parks are closed. What a shame. Again, this is a really good, usually a really good Easter activity, but not to be this year. All the campsites within the South Australian National Parks, they're closed. Fraser's been posting about that, and that does include the Coorong Ocean Beach. That's going to be closed and has been since the 30th of March. So that's closed indefinitely. Is that right, Rhodey?
Yep. So they haven't set a date. Obviously, a lot of unknown with this coronavirus. But, there are some national parks that are open. None of the campsites. But certainly you can go and have a picnic or go for a run. I suppose you probably can't have a picnic in these times, can you?
Probably not. Not unless you're by yourself. And that's not much of a picnic for one, is it?
You can go for a run through the national park, I suppose, if you live locally. But playgrounds, accommodation, barbecues, showers, all the facilities are shut up.
Yes.
So you can see the Parks SA website for details.
Jump online for that. Regional towns, they do not want visitors over Easter. They want to make sure that their health network can look after their own, and that's absolutely fair enough. So we've heard it enough on the news, guys. Stay home over Easter unless it's absolute essential travel. Rhodey, there's been a message on this from Nicole Spurrier, hasn't there?
Yep, so the Chief Public Health Officer has signed a letter along with all the rural mayors asking people not to visit the regional areas. So certainly discourage you from doing that, and I suppose if, you'd be pretty unwelcome and you'd be wouldn't be a good place to be, really.
No, definitely not. We don't want to have that significant increase in risk of infection. It's just not worth it.
And that's a wrap for today's news, guys. But stay tuned. Here we go, our guest. All right, welcome to our episode 4 guest, the Port Adelaide skipper, fishing enthusiast, and keen listener of the show. Here we have the great man, Tom Jonas. Tom, how are you?
G'day, gents. I'm very good. Yourselves?
Good, thanks, mate. Thank you very much for joining us today. It's an absolute treat to have you on. And you reckon you're a bit of a fishing tragic like us, mate, or what's the go?
Yeah, I reckon pretty similar necessarily the most skilled or equipped, but happy to throw myself into most situations. So, sorry, boys, hope you don't take that to heart, but based on what I've heard the first few episodes, I'd say it's probably reasonably accurate.
All good, mate.
Not wrong there. All right, Tommy, we'll hook into the 5 questions that we ask each of our guests, mate. Tell us about your best fish.
I haven't had an incredible run with amazing fish, but the one that we caught that just set the boys off was we're on Thistle Island. We're on a bit of a lake trip over there off Port Lincoln. And for anyone that doesn't know Thistle, you've got to sort of charter your own flight over there, take all your food and grog for the tenure. So we'd done that. The charter flight was packed to the hilt. All spare space was taken up by red tins, and then we'd tee up a boat in a joint over there, and this boat didn't have a lot going for it. No sounder, no depth finder, no spots. So we're pretty much just winging it, and we dropped a few cray pots. And the first day when we pulled this first cray out, and it was the one and only cray for the trip, and it was about 8 a.m. Just the whole boat exploded, and it just set the tone for an incredible day. So not a fish per se, but that crayfish we caught over on Thistle was definitely a highlight for me.
Do you have a weight for that one, mate? How big was it?
Nah, she was just legal, so it certainly wasn't anything special. But like I said, the boys were over the moon, and I think they were all in their jocks by about 10 o'clock in the morning after that. So it was a good fun day.
Rhodey's an absolute expert, Tom, at catching just sized cray.
Is he? Yeah, he got a few in his time.
All right, Tom, what's your favourite thing about fishing, mate?
I just love, just the banter that comes out of it. So many times we pack up, we're going down to catch a meat of mully to southeast, and we've got a bag of shag off Metro and whiting or squid, and you come back with bugger all but a few, memories and a bit of garbage chat, and it doesn't matter how many times that happens, you can rock up the next weekend thinking exactly the same. You're going to go out there and catch the biggest, best fish, and have the most successful fishing trip you're ever going to have. So just all the stuff that comes with it, some of the footy boys that very enthusiastic, they got bugger all idea. You take them out there and it's just an absolute laugh.
That's it, that's for sure. It's what it's all about. And your first fishing memory, Tom, or what got you into fishing, mate? Was it the banter with the boys?
Probably had a couple. One was, so we got a place in the river which I've been spending a bit of time at lately because of isolation and sort of grown up there. And I remember Dad and I used to do a fair bit of fishing, and one school holidays when I was maybe 4 or 5 or 6. We went out around Easter, and I remember it was mid-Wednesday to go back to work the next day, but we went to this one willow and just pulled in 4 massive colour in 5 or 6 minutes, and we were just over the moon. We just used these trashy little rods, whack the shrimp on, and they were just popping off. So caught 4 big callop, and I think we whacked him in an opera house net, and he was going to fillet them. No, in a keep net, he was going to fillet them a day or 2 later because he had to go to work and come back the next day or something like that. And we came back and a filthy water rat got in there and taken them all. So
Kidding.
well, that was probably the first time I can remember really having a good crack on river fishing. And the other time was probably over in KI at Emu Bay, I think it was, and we were fishing at Dodge, and I just remember we only sort of caught 9 or 10 fish for the day, but these whiting were just bigger than any whiting I'd ever seen in my life. They were sort of, 45 to 55, absolute kidney slappers, and just remembered absolutely loving it.
Yeah, beautiful. What is your favourite sort of fishing, Tom? It sounds like you do a bit in the river, a bit in the ocean. What do you prefer?
Yeah, I still prefer the ocean. Just so much more variety of what you can catch there. And, you're usually a little bit busier. If you're not getting white, you can still get some blue crabs or some squid, or, you can just duck off Metro and catch a bag of shag and some squid, or you can chase a whiting off north coast of KI. So, the sea for me, for sure. One thing I'd like to do is just go up to Darwin a bit more and do a couple more charters off there, up to Arnhem Land or something like that.
Yeah, it's amazing fishing up there. We might have even seen a few on your Instagram page, mate. You had a bit of luck up there one time?
Yeah, I snuck up there on a charter with my brother and Chocolate. Off Coburg Peninsula
Wow, that would have been amazing.
Shucking oysters off the rocks and catching muddies and then going out and fishing in this, out wide all day as well. So it had everything.
Absolutely. Mate, you probably had one of your funniest fishing stories off that trip, or did it come from somewhere else?
There's been a few moderately funny ones. It'd be cool that cray off thistle, and by the end of the day, the boat was the floor of the boat was covered in red, and the boat had a big leak in it, so we were ankle deep in a bit of salty water as well, just tins floating around everywhere. So all the time day. Dougal Howard comes to mind. He got no idea about the ocean. He's a country boy from Wagga. He's into Angus beef, but he'll have a crack at anything. We talked about going down surf fishing. So next minute he's splashed 250 on a brand new setup, and we got down there and it was absolutely blowing its guts out. We're down at Coorong, Salt Creek, and 6-foot waves, just horrid stuff. We parked up 4 cars in a row and just lit the fire and just started having a few beers, and he's out there waist deep with his brand new setup on, just making sure he got it wet, just so he can say he's used it. And I still don't think he's caught a fish on it to this day, but geez, we were absolutely in stitches.
Bit of a classic, all the gear but no idea there, I reckon.
Yeah, we got plenty of those. We've sort of got our own in-house joke at Port Adelaide about episodes of what we call the show, which is just running a shit show. And I reckon we're probably in about season 4 by now.
Seriously though, who hasn't been to a tackle shop and dropped $250 on something they're never going to catch a fish on? I certainly have. Well, that just about wraps up the 5 questions. Thanks a lot, Tommy, for answering those. And mate, we were really looking forward to heading up to the Gold Coast to watch you play round 1 against our good mate Sammy Day from the Suns. We were going to throw a rod in and see if we had any luck in the waterways, but obviously that was the weekend where everything went a bit crazy with the coronavirus. Tell us what it was like being in the thick of it, mate, and what's isolation looked like for you over the last 14 days.
Yeah, it's been a bit gone on. I was just going to say, you could have towed Jack Hobbs's bar crusher up there for him.
Oh, there we go. Now we're talking.
He's a keen fisher. Him and his old man invested in a brand new beer can a couple of years back, and I reckon it's probably seen water 2 or 3 times. I've been telling him, I said, when you're ready to get rid of it, give me a buzz, because it's not getting the treatment it deserves.
Sure.
Yeah. But it was interesting. Like, we were probably pretty prepared for it, because you train 3 days a week, you know one in front of you, so it's more of a mindset thing. Goldie don't draw the biggest crowd, so it wasn't a huge change there, but yeah, just all the hysteria around it and the way we altered our preparation, that sort of thing was probably the big difference, and not knowing even after that week if we'd be playing again, which it turns out we weren't. So that were the sort of things that made a difference, just not knowing what the future held.
And when you got back, you went straight up the river and set up base there, did you? How'd that look? Did a bit of fishing, bit of running, bit of training? What did you get up to up there?
Yeah, pretty lucky. Jonas got a place after a young husband on the Murray, so just took the mutt up there and bunked it down for a couple of weeks. So had a few rods in off the jetty, had the bench press set up and a paddock out the back, so that's about all you need really. You got the John Deere ride on just to keep the lawn looking quick. So between those few things, I was pretty well entertained for a couple of weeks.
Absolutely, mate. We actually ended up going up the river that weekend when the Goldie trip got cancelled, and we got into a few water sports, but there was a fair bit of all the gear but no idea in regards to water sports as well. Do you get around it, mate? What do you get into?
Yeah, we've grown up there, so we don't mind. A bit of water skiing, not so much wakeboarding these days, but go for a barefoot if get a bit of glass water. So yeah, pretty lucky that we've always grown up on the river and been able to do that. And probably dropped off the fishing for a little while there and started to get back into it. I feel like the fish population is pretty strong as well now, so it's a good time to do so.
Yeah, and so anything decent last couple of weeks up there? Any natives?
Yeah, couple of colour, and I think I got about 46 centimetre one the other day, which was I was pretty happy with. But the local farmers, they've got a couple of young lads. They come past and give me a bit of stick regularly. They spend a lot of time up in a Menker and a Tripper Creek, and I reckon that what happens up there just puts what we do on the Murray to an absolute shame.
And have you caught any Murray cod, mate?
No, I haven't actually caught a cod. So play footy with a lot of country Vic boys, so they always rate themselves in the cod department, but haven't really, just young husbands a bit lower on the river, sort of half an hour upstream from Madden. Not as many cod around, and people probably don't try for cod as much there.
Yes,
so
no, fair enough.
Get up higher on a little dinghy trip at some stage and have a crack at that.
Fantastic. And Tommy, do you get over to, you mentioned Kangaroo Island, do you get over there much?
Yeah, I try and get over there sort of once a year. I mean, between KI and Thistle, probably two favourite places in the world. I absolutely love it over there. Just try and sneak down to the north coast. I know you've probably got a couple of mates down there. Ricky sort of runs that part of the world, so hopefully he comes past and he might spot you a crate from time to time if you be nice to him. But yeah, it's all the locals down there. It's a beautiful part of the world, and there's a few fish around if you're lucky as well. So I love getting down there.
Yeah, and I think we've seen you on the ferry over there a couple of times, Tommy, and we've always talked about how many fish we're all going to catch. Do you? What do you normally get over there?
Yeah, predominantly we've got a 4 metre tinny with a 40 on the back, so not too dissimilar to you guys. And we've taken it out chasing tuna off Encounter once, and that was a bit hairy, but we were just smashing around off Snellings, trying some whiting. We did it right a couple of days, but I believe you boys were out chasing some tuna at that stage. Is that correct?
Yeah, we got out there. We've sort of been over there for the last few years. This year, sort of with the fires, ended that trip. But yeah, we had a bit of luck one year on the tuna, but we haven't had much luck since that year.
Yeah, I reckon I might have flicked Pez a message that year and just seen how you boys were going. I think we're working pretty hard for them, so yeah, it's all good fun.
Certainly hit and miss in a boat that size though, so it certainly makes it all the more fun when you do get onto them.
Absolutely, yeah, I'm sure it's good fun. We lashed onto a couple off Encounter Bay that day. We didn't get in the boat, so we'll have to get out there again this summer.
Yeah, and what about, you've mentioned, so you fished with Hamish up in the territory and do a bit of beach fishing with Dougal. Who of the boys is a keen fisherman, and do any of them have any idea?
Tommy Cleary's right into it. He's just bought himself a boat, but hasn't got a whole lot of idea. Very keen though. So he's a good companion. He doesn't need much warning. You just tell him the water's going to be good tomorrow. I'll see you at 7 o'clock. So he's a good one. Stephen Lotlop's obviously from the NT, so he's a bit of a Barra pro. He'll tell you that anyway. And Scotty Licence is the one he's probably got the most idea. He's from the Eyre Peninsula, so he's grown up over at Smoky Bay and Sejuna Waves, so he's done a fair bit of fishing in his time, and he's right into it, so he's one that's worth listening to.
For sure, mate. That's really good. Mate, during your isolation, we've talked about fishing, obviously a lot of training going on. We follow you on Facebook, mate. Hey Diddle Wines. Does that take up much of your time, or is that a bit of a side hobby?
Yeah, that's a good little side hustle. Takes up a bit of my time. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get down to the Brossa because I've been in ISO and they've been locked down anyway. So
yeah,
that sort of interrupted our plans a little bit. But yeah, we've been, Brad Eve and I have been dabbling in that for a few years now. Keeps us entertained, gives us some cheap booze to drink as well. So it's good fun and slowly picking up the skills as we sort of immerse ourselves. So really enjoying that. I think everyone out there that's tried it's enjoyed it. So yeah, no complaints there.
Yeah, and what's the number one drop? What would you recommend if we're going to head down to Bottle and pick some up? What would you tell us?
If you're going to take your old boy's credit card down to Bottle, I'd probably suggest the Shiraz. You can't really go too far wrong with the Barossa Shiraz. So get Pete to buy a dozen of that for us.
We'll let him know.
I like your idea of Pete shouting us a wine. That's a great call.
Well, he doesn't usually shout you, does he?
Few and far between, let me tell you.
Jesus.
And training's starting to ramp up now you're out of isolation. Bit of running and footy, or what's happening with that?
We're kind of just in another off-season sort of period because we don't know how long we're going to be waiting for. So just sort of 3 times a week with the running in the gym, and besides that, just sort of sitting on our hands, doing not too much. So we're already pretty fit. We've basically done a 4 or 5 month pre-season, so it's just sort of maintaining that until we go back to play.
And obviously there's a bit of a big unknown of what's going to happen next. So you said you'll head back up the river, did you, and do a bit more fishing, or what's the plan for the rest of this indefinite break?
Yeah, I'd love to get up there and get the tinny out and have a bash along with this a little bit. Just now we can explore a bit more, and I'd love to get over to some of the regional centres, but obviously they've been sort of shut down for the foreseeable future. So hopefully they sort of open up when things get under control, and maybe get over to York Peninsula or somewhere else and get into the sea fishing and hopefully a few teams.
Beautiful. Sounds like a plan. All right, well, Tom, thanks a lot for joining us. Been really good to chat fishing and footy and all things in between.
No, easy, boys. I've been absolutely loving the show, so keep up the good work.
No, thanks a lot, mate.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate your time, mate.
All right, catch you, boys.
All right, thank you very much, Tom, for coming on the show today. Really great to hear from you about your river fishing and your fishing across KI. That was fantastic, mate.
And certainly good of him to stitch up a few of the boys. That's realistically what we're all about.
Absolutely.
And that dinging on my phone's the great man Tom. He's sending through a couple of pics for us to share with all the listeners. So good to have him as a loyal listener and fishing enthusiast.
Absolutely, it was great to have him on. It's like Tommy, you need to get yourself on Facebook, get on Instagram, get interactive. Make sure you sling a few jokes around, stitch up your mates. It's what it's all about, and get around it. Rhodey, what about the merch, mate? How can the fans get involved? Yep,
so stubby holders, get in contact with us on Facebook or Insta. Give us your address. Let us know where you are. We'll tell you about the payment. So it's $10 a stubby holder or 3 for $25. The 3 for deal has been going nuts. Everyone's getting involved in that because what's the point of having one stubby holder, mate?
Well, your best mate's just going to steal it. You've taken plenty of mine, mate.
I'm good at that. I've got a whole tub of stubby holders I've stolen, so...
I mean, just ask Matty Allen. He's stolen about 50 of mine.
So make sure you get in contact. We do have some more merch in the pipeline, but obviously a lot of this stuff does get made in China, and certainly the coronavirus has put a hold on, postage and transport and logistics and all that sort of stuff. So you'll have to wait a little bit longer for the rest of the merch, but the stubby holders... From Ange down at Creative Concepts, they're a bit more of a local one, so they're unaffected by the COVID to some extent.
Absolutely, and we're going to make sure we keep the regular episodes going. We've got this stuff down pat. We can still knock off and have a beer and talk a bit of smack on the podcast here, mate, so that's fine.
So, certainly make sure you're getting it on the Instagram and the Facebook. Tag us in all your photos. Hit us up with any questions, as Johnny Giannini did, and we'll make sure we look after you and give you a shout out on the podcast. All right, that's just about all we've got time for tonight. We've got to go back to our social isolation, but before we do that, after a couple of good weeks on the jokes, Dizzy has claimed that this could be the pick of them so far. He's had a bit of research on this one. So, Dizzy, tell us firstly, where did this joke come from?
Well, this came from the depths of the net, mate. I was surfing the net long and hard, found this one nice and deep, but I have heard this one out on the water, and it specifically relates to you, mate. So I'll get it going. A guy is walking along the jetty one day when he comes across an old fella. He's sitting there, his shoes off, trousers rolled up, legs dangling over, fishing with what appeared to be an imaginary rod. Didn't see the rod there. And this bloke, he's really confused. So he asks that guy sitting there, what are you doing? And the old salty sea dog, he says, mate, I'm fishing for idiots. And the bloke says, oh, that sounds good. Can I join you? The old bloke says, of course you can. Sit down here, mate. Sit beside me, young son. So the guy sits down, he casts an imaginary rod out, following suit with the old salty sea dog. And he asks him, so, how many idiots have you caught today? And the old bloke replies, you're the third this morning. Good gear.
Look, I gave you a bit of a pity chuckle, but probably not your best work.
No, we need to come up with some better jokes.
So certainly if you've got any jokes, make sure you hit up Dizzy on the social media because he needs all the help he can get.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. Get around it on Facebook and Instagram. Follow us on and subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're on all the major ones. Get on Buzzsprout. You can't miss us, and we hope you have a good listen.
We'd love you to give us a review, give us a rating, give us a bit of love, share it with your friends, anyone you know who likes fishing or banter or whatever they want. You know, they can just listen for the joke at the end if they're a real comedy guru, because that's where the gold is. But anyway, guys, thanks for joining us on episode 4. We're in the pipeline with plenty of great guests to come in future episodes.
Brilliant stuff, guys. Thanks again. We'll speak to you soon.
Rhodey and Diz hope you enjoyed today's episode of All the Gear But No Idea. Keep up to date by liking and sharing us on Facebook and Instagram. And you can subscribe on all the major podcast platforms. Until next time, good luck fishing.